when Steve brought him to school, I started him from basics again, because he didn't know anything about stretching, how to use his arms, how to develop power, how to do all this kind of stuff. Because I also trained in JKD under Daniel Lee. That was one of Bruce's top students at the time. He used to come train at our studio. Once a week, he'd bring it down. And in fact, Bruce is supposed to come to my studio in 1973, but that's when he passed away before he made it down to the studio. Because we were training hard all the time with all the generation JKD students. So I had training in it. So what I was working with him was different ideas of strengthening his body, some of the JKD movements and so forth, but also he was a gymnast before. So I wanted to help him develop more of his jumping in a martial art way. Because, gymnastics is one thing, but looking like a martial art is a different thing. Because even when you're doing kicks, that's why some of the movies I watch how some of these guys do, a way a Korean guy kicks and the Chinese guy kick is two different ways of doing it, even the way a Japanese guy kicks. The styles are different, the emphasis are different. So I try to make more of the Chinese part of it all. So that's what I worked on. I worked with him on weapons. So you saw his double sword, chain, all that kind of stuff in the movie. That's all coming from me. So that's what I'm known for, is for weapons. Everything you know in the Chinese weapon arsenal, that's me. But Jason was a good student. He had to learn everything, what it was all about. Doing the stances, doing the breathing, doing the mind control, the whole bit. So after that, he worked with a lot of different people there.
People wonder how Jason got his body. Number one, I worked him 7, 8 hours a day, sometimes 10. Number two, there was a secret to that, Pilates. Between the training that I gave him, not only martial arts, but other physical types of training, and those Pilates really brought out muscles and tendons in his body. It was never steroids. People send me texts and ask me questions. I was with him for 6 months, and there was never talk. There was never any kind of idea. And he was a health nut, Jason. Being a 68 now, and I was a lot older than him then, and being in the movies so long, much longer than him, and seeing so many things behind camera, stunt-wise, directors. Don't forget, I started in the 70s. I seen a lot as far as drugs and alcohol and things like that. I never saw anything like that coming out of Jason. He did it all himself. He had amazing determination. And believe me, I tell a couple of stories in the book. There was a couple of times he broke down with me. You got to realize he's playing Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee, a legend, a god. Nobody ever like him in his past and the future. And that's quite a feat. And a couple of times he got very respectfully, and I understood perfectly. And we would sit there, and he would, literally, and there's nothing wrong with it, crying on my shoulder. And I would be holding him, and we would have conversations. I believe in you. You can do it. It's all a movie. We'll get through it. That's how much he cared, and that's much he realized what was on his shoulders. He worked hard. What people think about the movie, the circumstances, how he did, is besides the point. The guy really worked hard and really trained hard, but I give him big time points for working as hard as he did.